Jason, it's another Apple event day, and I got to admit, it's been a little bit weird, at least for me this morning. A little bit weird. Started with some late night rumors last night that I think got me a little bummed
Yep.
that turned out to be true, but it's still Apple event day, and so this is what we're going to do today. This is our hot takes, right? This is what we do. We'll do this hot takes. We're
Right.
publishing it on the day of the event. And another week, then we'll have a lot more information. But what I want to do today is just talk about overall impressions. Then we're going to kind of mix up the order a little bit. We'll talk iPhone first, then Apple Watch, then we'll talk AirPods. So that's kind of the plan. But no funny intro today. I thought about asking you how your wallet was feeling, but I think we'll get to that in here. And because we'll wrap
Right.
up today with what are our plans now that we've actually seen the stuffs,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, how does that sound for a show today?
Yeah, that sounds fun. Like you said, this is always our hot takes. More information, more details and stuff are going to come out over the next few days. So next week we'll be able to, cover a bit more of that and clarify a few things. But yeah, I'm all for it today. Let's get to it.
Hear their music. This is the Gadgets for Families Tech Show, the tech show where you get these two grandpas sharing their opinions about tech and just about everything else. I'm your host, Greg Cunningham.
And I'm your host, Jay Benjamin. Thank you guys for joining us for this hot take episode. And this is a pretty fun time of the year for us, right? It's usually busy in my household. We're usually busy at work. Remember, we're at this time we're usually getting orders or requests from execs and stuff like that, and planning on pre-orders and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty hectic around this time of the year, but we love it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's also the time of year when Jason's prepping for a cruise, which always factors into what he orders on pre-order day, and a couple of surprises on pre-order stuff that we'll talk about here in just a bit. But
Yep.
I just want to let everybody know, because we are recording, it's Monday. The event just ended. I had to walk out because I had a whole bunch of Amazon packages sitting in my trailer, and the chaos was driving me nuts. So I had to get rid of those. But I am recording inside today, so I apologize if you're going to hear the AC running a little bit in the background. But it's just too hot to record at this time outside. So there we go. So Jason, overall impressions. Let me just make one comment. And it's
hmm
going to sound kind of weird, but there was a couple of disappointments, but there was a lot more announced today than I expected. So there was,
Right.
I mentioned this to you via text while we were watching the show, that they spent a long time talking about the iPhone 16.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then
They did.
they really did. So I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, we kind of thought the same thing. When you text me, I was thinking the same thing because again, we're watching the clock. We know these things are a set amount of time, and as they start going on and they're adding filler, like I mentioned, oh, they keep adding this AI talking about Apple Intelligence filler and stuffing and stuff. Is that really going to leave more time to talk about the new features on the Pro, which was the last thing that they talked about, the iPhone Pro, and yeah, I thought about it right when you text, like, wow, they're really spending a lot of time on the iPhone, and for good reason. When we get to the talking about the details and everything, it really is an awesome phone. Um, and again, if we're going to talk about our impressions of the show, but when we're talking about the 16 Pro, it kind of was just what we were expecting, right? Do you kind of get that same sense? The iPhone 16, awesome. The 16 Pro, I guess it was kind of what we were expecting. Not really any surprises. Somewhat, somewhat. There's
Yeah.
always surprises with the camera, right?
Yeah, I think there's some of that. So one of the things that came out prior to the event was that they by far expected the 16 Pro series, we'll call it that, right? But the 16 Pro series
Mm-hmm.
to be the best selling phone in this cycle. So part of me
Right.
wonders if they're also trying to hype up the 16, um, which actually is a pretty darn amazing phone.
Yes.
Once it's all said and done, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but pretty darn amazing phone because you get into the pros and you get a little bit of sticker shock, right, with the price. But I
Yep.
also think they want to make sure that people know that, there's a great option. You don't have to go with that most expensive one. So I wonder if
Yep.
a little bit was kind of some of that. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So
Yeah. Also, I know we're going to get into it, but do you think, because rumors from the very beginning was this was just going to be a status quo kind of update, right? A speed bump, as we call it, right? They bumped the processor, they bumped the brighter colors, faster phone, louder speakers, things like that. So it was just going to be a speed bump. Do you think they kind of sandbag the Pro? No, I'm not. I guess sandbag is not the right word because I think that they're trying to give us the best Pro model, iPhone 16 Pro that they possibly could. But do you think that they held some things back because of Apple Intelligence, because of the uh, the improvements to the iPhone 16, and then next year those rumors of a 17 Ultra, which is going to blow every other iPhone ever, out? You think that that's what they're doing? They're holding some of these features for, which I know we know at Apple as a company, they do that. Features aren't ready, they're going to hold it for the next version. But do you think that, again, they don't want to stick everyone on a Pro, that they want them to get the 17 Ultra or the 17 Pro or whatever it's called next year? Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I think maybe there's some of that because
Right.
um, Apple Intelligence is going to take longer to roll out than I think even they thought. And so I think
Right.
there's also some of that too, right? Is that yes, they said multiple times that iPhone 16 and 16 Pro were built from the ground up for Apple Intelligence, but they're not enabling all of Apple Intelligence right now. Some of the first
Yep.
features they said will hit public beta uh, next month. I think they said October, right? But
Yep.
then there's still a whole bunch of features that aren't even in that beta right now that aren't going to come until next year. So there may be some of this as much wasn't quite ready as we anticipated. So I don't know. It's just
Right.
a weird period right
Yeah.
now.
And the reason why I asked, because uh, I, I'm having thoughts about maybe that's the reason for the phone, but I think that that's exactly the reason why we didn't see an Ultra 3 today. Exactly what I described. They're giving us an awesome Series 10, and we'll get into that. Um, a watch that I would even be happy wearing for the next year or so. Right? We'll get into what we're gonna purchases we're gonna make and stuff later, but I think that that's the case with the Ultra 3. I think that because Apple Intelligence is surprisingly, not surprisingly, but it's obviously missing on the Apple Watch, right? Ultra 3,
Yeah.
definitely going to have Apple Intelligence, definitely going to have, because basically the Series 10 is an Ultra, right? When we break down some of these
Yeah.
features and stuff, it is an Ultra level phone. I mean, an Ultra level watch for just that entry level series. Not entry level because the Series 10 is the Apple Watch. The Ultra is the upgraded version. So we'll get into it. We'll talk more about it, but I think that that's the case with when we talk about watches. That's exactly what they're doing, is they're holding back for new features and some of this Apple Intelligence stuff that's coming in the Ultra 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, overall, again, some disappointments. But then, I mean, they were all rumors. So how can you really be disappointed?
Right.
But then actually a lot more when it comes, especially when it comes to the phones and to the watch and then to AirPods. So those are the three categories that we're going to cover today. So let's start um let's start with the AirPods. Let's start with AirPods.
Okay.
I'll throw off my original outline here. So um we're watching this and
So,
Jason texts me and says, "Hey, womp womp," and I'm like, "Womp womp what?" And he's like, "If they were going to do anything with the AirPods Pro, they would have started with those because they started with
yep.
AirPods 4, right?" And I think,
Yes.
like we anticipated, there are two different versions of AirPods 4. They're calling them AirPods 4 and AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation. I called them 4 and
Hmm.
4 Plus in my notes because it was just easier. So, do you want to
Right.
kind of talk us through these new
Yeah.
AirPods?
So let me switch over because my disappointment and as usual, your notes are way more detailed. They usually encompass all of my notes plus extra stuff that I missed. So let me switch back over. But yeah, I said womp womp because again, I was looking forward to not necessarily the pros, right? Because we knew weeks ago that we weren't going to get pros. You know, we knew that was coming, but the latest rumors that we were following kind of mentioned that there was going to be some kind of merger, which is the one we're calling the AirPods Plus, right?
Right, the
Uh,
4 Plus. Yeah.
yeah, the four plus. It's kind of a merger, right? You get some plus level, some pro level features in that, but I really wanted a version with that tip. So I wore. I have the notes here. I'll get into it in a second, but um, this weekend, to listen to your speech and stuff, I forgot my AirPods when we went out, so I ended up borrowing Wendy's her Beats her Studio Buds.
Mm-hmm.
Really comfortable, really comfortable. I really liked them. Like that was the first time I had them both in ear, listening to them for an extended amount of time, and I really liked them. And they got me to thinking like, wow, if there was a combination between those, the little bud that's on them, and the AirPods, I would really be game for something like that. But we didn't get it.
Yeah, because
Um,
there's no stem, right? There's no stem on
right.
those. They fit pretty nicely in your ear. So yeah, yeah,
Yep. Yep. Big button on them, and the sound quality is, of course, Beats and Apple, and they were really good.
right.
So, but AirPods 4, despite my disappointment in them, I was just expecting something, um, a, a form factor in between both of those. But as far as technology wise, the AirPod 4s are really good, right? So, an updated design, they kind of look smaller, right? I know the lady that was doing the presentation stuff. She talked about um, they're made to be one size fits all for multiple ear shapes and things like that. So I get it. They do look smaller. They did have the feature that the pros have where you can nod yes and no, shaking your head up and down to respond to Siri. So the example they gave was when the guy was walking in riding in the elevator, a crowded elevator, and Siri asked if he wanted to accept the call, and he just shook his head no. That's a really cool feature. And on these entry level iPods, I think a lot of people would take advantage of something like that. The voice isolation is another, I think, pro level feature that's people buying these entry level fours are going to really love that voice isolation. And that was the example they used in the commercial. Guy was walking down the street. He was going home, and his daughter was in the garage practicing with her band and stuff. And he received a phone call, and he's like, "Hey, hold on for a second. My daughter, their band is really loud." And he was like, "No, I can hear you clearly." And Greg, you tested these out with yours, and you said it worked pretty decently. It had its bugs and stuff like that, but voice isolation
Yeah.
on these entry level AirPods 4 is going to be really cool thing. USB-C charging case and a smaller case is another big deal. Um, I know first world problems. Don't get me to complaining about certain things, but even with the AirPods Pro, for it being such a compact and small, um, design, I always thought that case was a little bit bigger than it needed to be, right? With the battery and stuff. Have you
Yeah.
ever thought that, Greg, using it? I mean, we're talking about a
Yeah.
really small device, a really small charging case. But for me, it always seemed bulkier than it needs to be. So this time around, the AirPods 4 is getting a smaller case, which is I don't know how much smaller. I couldn't really tell from the promotional material that they use, but um, they mentioned that it was going to be a smaller case. 30 hours of total battery life. So I believe you can get what, three charges now with the current three, like from 0% to 100%, three cycles per case on your AirPods, and I think this adds one more cycle or something like that. So
Yeah.
extending the battery life on it, that's always a good thing, especially when we're talking about these little tiny um, earbuds. Force sensor, I didn't really get much details about that. I see you have it here in your
It's
notes.
it's the same thing as the AirPods Pro 2, right? Because on the AirPods Pro 2, there's no button on the stem, but you can
Right.
press and hold, and it's that fake click, right? It's
Okay.
the
Okay. The
taptic
haptic, the
engine
little
that's in there,
haptic.
and
Yeah.
you can slide your finger up and down to do the volumes and stuff like that. So, I mean, the biggest thing
Okay.
is these AirPods are now got the shorter stem too, right? That's part of this
Right.
redesign is they've got short stem, and then they've got that sensor that comes in the Pros. So yeah, they're getting super close to what the Pros have.
Right. Right. And 129. Again, y'all know me. I always think these things are a bit overpriced. I think $99 for this, and I know we're talking $29. I'm just saying, for me, the value that they put in it, what I would pay. I think $99 would have been an awesome price for these AirPods 4. But we're talking Apple. They don't go by anyone's recommendation on what they should charge for their prices. So 129, which is not terrible. Automatically these things are going to be released by Black Friday. They're going to be, $79, $90 discount sales. Buy it for 129 and get, a $40 Target credit, or you know what I mean? Stuff like that. We'll see all sorts of deals and all of that. So, uh, again, the AirPod 4 with the noise cancellation, we're just going to call them the 4 pluses for just for clarification. They do have the active noise cancellation, which is really, really, really awesome feature. Transparency mode and what is the other mode? The mode where they the noise the regular noise cancellation. To me, I don't know if you had the same impression that I had, Greg. Why mention that? That's that's kind of a standard feature now, right? I know they've made some improvements to it, but
Yeah, but the
what
AirPods
was it
didn't have
real?
it before, and the previous ones don't, right? Or the regular AirPods don't have it. So I think they're mentioning it because those are things that
Just the
live on the
pros have it,
Pros. The Pros have it today, right? So you've got
right?
active noise cancellation and transparency mode, which lets everything through, and then you've got the adaptive audio, which is what I use almost
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Is let it adjust automatically. There's
Right.
sometimes that it doesn't, and I wish it wouldn't, but for the most part, I want it to do that. And I mentioned at the beginning that I'm hearing the trailer with the AC running, right? And so I can
Mm-hmm.
hear that AC all the time. Now I can put it on full active noise cancellation and block it out. But what I like to do is leave it on transparency mode. And when I have other audio engaged, it reduces the noise of the air conditioner, right? But when
Right.
I don't have
Right.
other audio engaged, it's a little bit louder. So that actually, for a while, it took me a minute to get used to it because I thought something was going wrong with the AC, right? Because all of a sudden it was getting
Yeah.
softer or louder randomly. And I'm like, okay, no, that's not supposed to be happening. But
Right. Right. So, and I guess you're right. You're right. It is a feature that lived on the pros. And I guess before I make judgment, I should really wait for the reviews and stuff like that to see if this is really going to work as good as it does. Because I believe it works as good as it does on the pros is because of the bud, right? That foam. Well, I use memory foam on mine. There's a slip resistant one, but the silicone ones that they come with builds that barrier to assist with that noise cancellation,
yeah.
right? So I'm
Now,
wondering if these are really going to work as good as they say they are, and I'm excited to see if they do or not. But
well, I don't expect them to work as good as on the pros, right? Because they're cheaper. They're not the pros
right,
for a reason, right? So remind me, do you have the AirPods Pro, the originals, or do you have AirPods Pro 2? You have the originals, don't you?
the originals, yes,
So
yeah,
you don't
they're the
have a
originals.
bunch of these features anyway. Okay, good, because that's going to come up
Nope,
here in a minute.
nope.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't have any of these features, which is why I wanted to upgrade to these 4 pluses with the bud that we thought they were going to have, the little bud that goes in your
Yeah, well,
ear.
we got to
So
talk about that here in a minute. So,
yeah, yeah. All right. So wireless charging, of course, in the case, it uses the regular wireless charger on the Apple Watch charger and the Qi chargers too. So that's uh that's going to be pretty
yeah, the
cool.
case the
The
case
force
seems to
sensor,
be the case seems to be on par with the AirPods Pro 2 case.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And did they mention this one being smaller? I don't remember this one being smaller.
I'm guessing it's the same size cuz we've never had these, right? This is a whole new class of AirPods, so to speak, which is why I thought it was funny that they didn't brand it, because
Yeah.
Apple brands everything, right? But they didn't
Yeah.
on this one. So now we've got AirPods
Right.
Pro version A or AirPods version A, AirPods version B, and then AirPods
Yeah.
Pro. But so I'm surprised they didn't brand it. So
Yeah, because it's its own product, right? Just looking through the specs,
yeah,
it's its
I
own product. I don't know why
I,
they didn't call it the
I wouldn't
Plus.
be I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, and I can't confirm this. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if the case in the AirPods Pro and the AirPods 4 Plus are the same.
Right. Right. That's what I'm kind of thinking too. They may be the same. Force sensor, like we mentioned on the other ones, where you can slide your finger up and down, and it feels like an actual button, although it's not. These are 179 again. don't, don't get Mr. Cheapo harping on about pricing and stuff, but 150, 129, I would say for these,
All right.
right? For the extra that they're
So,
included in them,
yeah,
I would say 120, but
I'm okay
yeah,
with it.
pre-orders
So,
today and available on the 20th.
I'm okay with the price. I mean, I use these so much that this is one of those areas where I don't mind spending the money. So, I actually just pulled up.
Right.
I didn't know they had this, but they have a comparison page for the different AirPods models too. So, I've got all three up.
Okay.
I've got AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation, AirPods 4 and AirPods Pro 2. The case is not the same one because I forgot, because the AirPods Pro 2 case is wider. It's a wider
Right.
case, right? So it's a bit wider. So it's not that, and that actually makes sense because you got to remember that it's got the extra tips. So these are a little bigger. The pros are a little bigger because they actually have the tips, right? Versus just
Yeah. They
the
have
whole
that little.
molded
Yeah.
thing. Yep. But they've all got the H2 chip. They've got active noise cancellation, adaptive audio, and transparency mode. The active noise cancellation is still being promoted as better in the pros. Um, conversation awareness, personalized spatial audio, and then we'll get to some of these others. So there's your thing. And 5 hours of battery life on both of these AirPods 4s on a single charge, which means that you've got 6 recharges. Well, you've got 5 recharges, right?
6.
So you've got your initial 5 hours plus 5 more to get you to the 30 hours of total listening time. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
So,
everything else is basically the same there.
yeah. Yeah. And the AirPods Maxes, the ones that you rock every day, or every recording, didn't get much changes, right? But
Nothing.
colors, some new colors,
USB-C,
and yep.
USB-C, and now
Wait,
they can support personalized. They had new
did
colors.
they
They
not
had
have?
new colors.
Okay,
No,
no
they
USB-C originally. It was
nope.
Lightning.
It's Lightning. Trust me, it's plugged in right here. It's Lightning. So
Yeah.
yeah, new colors,
Right.
USB-C, personalized spatial audio, which I don't know. Hopefully, well, I didn't say it would be available on these two. So nope. And the price still $550. You want
Yep.
to talk about overpriced?
Yep.
That's
Right.
it. They should have dropped this price by at least a couple $100.
I think
So
so. I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, 350, maybe 399 would be a good price for older technology that they're changing the colors to. I don't know why they did that, and it also makes me think that we probably won't see an upgrade to Maxes until this time next year, right? If they're
or
adding new
no,
colors.
it'll be longer. It'll be
Yeah.
longer. So here's the thing. So I'm always excited to upgrade tech that I love and use, right?
Yeah.
And I love and I use these, and I have no desire to update.
Yeah.
None, right? I
Yeah.
mean, zero, zilch, zip. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mainly
Anyway,
because they're still awesome, right? They're still
yeah.
a really
I mean,
good
there's
really good pair of earphones, professional quality
yeah. I mean,
earphones.
anytime I turn on a lossless track and listen to it on these, I go, oh yeah, that's what this is supposed to sound like. Versus my HomePod Minis, right? I mean, it used to be really nice on my big HomePods, but yeah,
Yeah.
when I put these on and listen to a lossless track, it's like, oh yeah, that's how it's supposed to sound. So
Yeah. Yeah. So AirPods Pro 2, again, no changes, but they did announce some exciting things. And remember, I told you I got a call on the while they were talking about this that I had to take, so I missed most of it, but I did hear them start off talking about some of these health features that, and one of them
Yeah.
had been rumored for years now, and they finally released it, and that was the clinical grade hearing aid for the AirPods. Like that was
Yeah.
something that we've been expecting since the second generation of AirPods, and we finally got it, and it's really cool.
Well, they've got some features where you can do a little bit of that, right? I mean, you can like leave your iPhone on the
Yeah,
table and get some enhanced audio and stuff.
and
But
listen
let
from
me go
there.
back through
Right,
this.
right.
I forgot this was the part that you missed. But, so let me walk through this. So when they said, "Well, let's talk about AirPods Pro 2," I was like, "Oh, great." I told Jason, "There goes more of my money." Right? Because I love my AirPods Pros. But they talked about um prevention, awareness, and I can't remember what the third thing they talked about. So let me go through those. But so first of all,
Hmm.
hearing protection. They've got some additional enhancements coming to protect your hearing that will, in theory, lower volumes, right? Reduce the impact on your hearing, but preserve the dynamic range of whatever you're hearing. That's the problem
Hmm.
traditionally when you use headphones and like reduce volume and stuff like that, is the quality of the audio is degraded, right? And so
Yep.
this is supposed to do that. And then the second piece is a clinically validated 5 minute check that you can do on your hearing. So basically, it's you tap the screen when you hear different tones, right? And that's going to do
Hmm.
some check on your hearing. So there's this ability to know if you need to go see someone, or as we age, to know if we're going to need something, right?
Right.
And that's what led into that clinical grade over the counter hearing aid feature, which for those not in the US, right, this is new. They had to approve hearing aids to be over the counter. I think that's been a couple of years now. But after the hearing test that you take, the programming in the AirPods Pros will be modified to actually reflect what you need to improve your hearing, right? So there's
Wow.
this program that may be done, and it was really really cool because what it was, the video they showed was a lady standing and she was looking at her son and some other family members, and you could hear right,
Hmm.
and she
Yep.
puts in her AirPods, and you can hear him saying, "We're here today to celebrate you." I mean, it was just, and I know it's marketing and all that kind of stuff, but if that's
Right.
really what this is designed to do, is to allow you to have that kind of hearing, then
Yep.
fantastic. And then that hearing profile is then synced across all of your devices for when you listen to media. So all of your other devices are going to know that they need to boost certain frequencies or certain tones and stuff like that. That's my
Wow.
understanding of how they
Wow.
did it. So the thing is, AirPods Pro are fairly comfortable, but they're not comfortable enough that I would want to wear them, 12 hours a day as my hearing aids,
Right.
right? But if you've got hearing loss only in certain circumstances or stuff like that, it definitely
Yep.
may work to deal with something like that. So this
Right.
was
Right.
super cool. And I thought maybe they were going to announce temperature sensors or something like that, which would be new AirPods Pro hardware features. All of these new features, they're actually getting regulatory approval on this and on a couple of things on the watch that we'll talk about, which I found super
Right.
interesting because they've always avoided that, right? They've not wanted to go after regulatory approval because it's a pain. But they
Right.
are getting approval on this, and so later this fall, this will all be activated on existing AirPods Pro 2 devices and everything going forward with a software update.
Right. Right. I did hear say FDA approval was coming soon, and once they get that,
Yeah,
just like the watch. Remember the watch? Everybody, oh, it's just a smart watch. It's an Apple Watch, But it quickly became the best selling, the number one watch, you know,
yeah,
of all time, the best selling watch. I can quickly see this once they get all of the regulatory stuff and the FDA approval. This is probably going to be the number one hearing aid,
yeah,
being sold. I know there's companies that's been at this for years and years and years, and they have a big market share. But Apple is going to take a big bite out of those companies' market share. I can just see it
yeah,
once they get these approvals, and insurance companies start pitching in on these purchases and things like that. Because like you said, it may not be comfortable for you to wear, 24 hours a day. Um, but if you're going into a meeting, right, listening to a sermon at church or something, um, you mentioned the commercial. I mean the promotional stuff they use. If you're at a celebration or something like that, and you just need to pop them in for an hour and a half, because you're going to be having a bunch of conversations and stuff. And this is going to be perfect for that. It
Well,
is
and I
going to be
think
perfect for it.
what we don't realize, especially where I'm such a homebody, but I mean, go walk on a college campus, go walk into an office where there's not a whole bunch of meetings or stuff going on. And if people are using earbuds of any kind or headphones of any kind, what are they most likely using? AirPods,
Yeah, they're
right? I
using
mean, and they
AirPods.
touted the
Yep.
AirPods Pro as the top selling headphones, right? And that wouldn't surprise me at all. And so, yes, would I want to wear these as hearing aids? No. But if I'm already going to use these because I'm on and off phone calls, I'm listening to media all day long, I'm listening
Right.
to music and that stuff like that, why do I need now a hearing aid potentially on top of this stuff, right? If my
Yep.
hearing is of the kind that these can address. And again, this is probably just the beginning, right? The smaller and smaller they can make the tech, the more they can fit these things in. Um, if they can get the AirPods, the biggest thing about AirPods getting to be the size of the Beats Buds is the
Mm-hmm.
microphone. The microphone is not as good in
Yeah.
the Beats Buds, so that's one of the challenges there. But if this is just the beginning, I mean, a few years from now, they could have something that you can't even see and that you really can't even feel in your
Right.
ear, right? So,
Yep. Yep. I can see it. I can see it. And talking about the future, we didn't get the pros, the Pro threes, but I can see those really,
yeah,
taking advantage of all of this different technology, all of the FDA approvals and stuff that they get, all the regulatory stuff, and when they're finally announced next year or in the spring or whenever, um, yeah, quickly taking that number one spot whenever they
yep.
go on sale. So, yep.
I do think this means we're not going to see AirPods Pro 3s for a while.
Right.
If they're going
Right.
to enable this stuff with the software update, my guess is we're waiting at least a year, if not more. And then it would probably
Yeah.
be when they get a different sensor or something ready to put in these, would be my guess. So um,
Right.
I'm super excited that I have my twos and that I don't have to buy a new version of these to get these extra features. I'm going to
Yeah, to
do the
get the
hearing
new
check,
features.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you're right. We're still a long way away from them. I don't see them anytime soon, too. But remember, Siemens early this year, their buds that they had, they do they have the blood oxygen monitor, the heart rate monitor, and all of that in the earbuds. Now, I don't know how great they work. Probably not at all. I hadn't watched any reviews on them, but I can see all of that technology going into the threes too.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah, something
Yep.
something to look forward to. But now, currently, people with the Pro Tools, they'll be able to take advantage of all of this with a software update later on this fall.
All right, let's talk iPhone. And then I want to save the Apple Watch for last because there's going to be some discussion on the Apple Watch. So,
Okay.
um, iPhone designed for Apple Intelligence from the ground up. I think that's a little bit of hoopla because Apple was so far behind. And they've been planning the iPhone 16 for a very, very long time. But it is
Yeah.
telling that they skipped a processor generation,
Yep.
right? They skipped the 17s for the regular model phones and went straight to the 18s and the 18 Pros. So I do think that's a little bit telling. So, Jason, they spent a lot of time talking about the 16 and the hardware and all that kind of stuff. Um,
Yep.
but it's funny because my notes are about equally long for the Pros too, because there definitely are some boosts there. So iPhone 16, kind of what's your take on this as if somebody said, "Hey, I want to buy a brand new iPhone. I've got the money to buy a new one. I don't need to buy a previous gen. Which one should I
Right.
buy?" What's your take on this phone?
Yeah. This is the and I say this every time they stand on the stage. They say this is the most powerful iPhone ever, and this is the most powerful iPhone ever. It is the best iPhone that you can get for that price range. Right. Sticker shock again with the pros, and we'll talk about that when we get to the pros. But for the iPhone 16, the price range that it starts at, they give you a lot of value for that. They give you a lot of it's worth it. It's worth that. So yeah, if anyone asks me, I'm recommending the iPhone 16. How about you? What do you think? What are you
Yeah,
telling
I
people?
think so. So the two differences really, well, there's an obvious difference that the displays are different, right? So there's a little bit larger display in the Pro versus put the Max aside for a second, right? So you're
Yeah.
talking about a 6.1 inch versus a 6.3 inch. And then probably the other big difference there, you do get promotion, but most people aren't really going to notice that. But the
Hmm.
always on display, right? Do I need an always on display? Because you still don't get it in the regular
Yeah.
16, right? But then you're getting the A18 chip, just phenomenal. We don't need to go into that. You're getting the new camera control button on all the models, right? And it
Yes.
does all the
Which
same
we thought were
things
only going to be on the
on all the
pros.
models. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it's there. You're getting the action button like I have on my Pro now. So you're getting that on the regular one too. So buttons, they're now comparable, right?
Hmm.
Really, when you get into what are the differences, it's going to come down to the cameras, right? Do you
Yep.
want higher? So, do you want three cameras or do you want two? And do you want a
Hmm.
higher? Then it comes down to quality of the ultra wide lens and the telephoto stuff, right? Those are the two big things. We won't go into all of quite that yet,
Right.
because I've got the comparison page up that I'm looking at here. You're talking about 5 hours less of battery life on video playback between the 16 and the 16 Pro. You're talking
Hmm.
11 hours battery life difference between the 16 and the 16 Pro Max. 11 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's a big deal.
um,
It's a big deal.
yeah, starts at 128, which is the same as
Hmm.
the 16 Pro. Um, so yeah, I think, and that's why I wanted to ask the question that way, right? Is what do we recommend now as the default? So unless you're a photography nut, right? And my wife
Right.
and I were
That's
having this
that's the
conversation.
main thing.
Yep, she takes way more pictures than I do, right? But 9 times out of 10, the pictures that she's taken are in fairly good environments, right? It's pictures of the kids running around. It's, in the house, that kind of stuff. And
Right.
they're not pictures that she's taking because she wants them to be phenomenal, right? She's taking these pictures because she just wants to capture the memory,
Right.
right?
Right.
The
And she just
difference
wants a
is when
great picture. Yep.
yeah, yeah, she's whatever it turns out to be, great. As long as I can capture the memory, I'm pretty good to go, and I don't want to deal with too much hoopla to get there. When I take a picture, because I don't take nearly as many pictures, but when I pull out my phone to take a picture, I don't want the hoopla, but I want the absolute highest quality picture
Yeah.
that I can take as an amateur photographer,
Yeah.
right? And so if I think about those use cases, I just don't see any reason why she wouldn't just go with the 16, right? I
Yeah.
mean, especially with all of the stuff that they've now added in that gets it so close to
Yeah.
the Pro phone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so close to the Pro phone, so close to the 16 Pro, but really these are pro level features that they've included on the iPhone 16, and that has not been the case from when was the first Pro model? From the 12 Pro, on the 12
Yeah.
Pro Max. The camera on
No, there
that phone
was,
has always
yeah,
been,
something like that.
yeah, somewhere around
Yeah.
there. I could be wrong, but there was such a wide gap in between the way those cameras perform, right? Even if you weren't a pro, a professional photographer, or you just love great videos, if you wanted the best camera possible on a mobile phone, you had to go with that pro phone, right? And that's been the case between, again, from that first Pro and Pro Max all the way up to the iPhone 15 and the 15 Pro Max. The cameras were just so different. That's still the case with this one, but they've included so many pro level features on the iPhone 16 that you're right. Unless you're making a living taking photos, or like me and you, when we take pictures, we want to be pulled back to that moment. We want to feel like we're standing in that
Yeah.
exact same spot when we look at pictures. Now, there's millions of people like us that want that pro level camera, but I mean, to just the average user, like your wife and my wife, or anyone who says, "Hey, I just need a camera. I just want the camera to work the best that it can work." There are some pro level camera features on the iPhone 16 that they didn't usually include in this entry level phone like this, and
Yep.
yeah, just great, just great.
And
I love it.
and not just pro level camera features, but let me flip through this and try and point out some of this stuff that's the same as in the pro level phone, right?
Hmm.
Ceramic shield glass, a new version of ceramic shield glass. Always good to have more better glass. And they said
Right.
it's oops proof. That's how they put it on the video, right? Is that it's
Yeah.
oops proof. It went
What did
flying
they
out of
mean
her
by
hand
that?
and I'm like, "Oh." So they
Okay.
said it's more scratch resistant. They also said the framing's more scratch resistant too. So I think there's, can I go uh caseless? I think there's more of
Yep.
a feel for that. So, but it's the same. It's the same stuff as on, other than the frame on the Pros is made of titanium and these are aluminum. Yeah, that's a difference. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't going to care about that, especially if you're going to plop a case on this thing. So brightness is the same across all the models. You've got on the 16, you can get the 6.1 and you can get the bigger version, which is the Pro. You know, probably a pro tip here, if you want that bigger version of the non-Pro phone, this might be your last year to buy it because we don't think it's
Right.
coming
We heard
next
rumor.
year. We think it's
Yeah.
going away, right?
Are they
You're
still
getting the
calling it the
extra, but
Plus? I didn't see it. Did they call
they
it a
they did.
Plus, or
They
they
called
just
it the
called it a
Plus.
bigger?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
they called it the Plus. So you're getting the action button, which has the same functions across any of the models. You're getting the camera button,
Hmm.
which for the most part has the same functions across all of the models, except for some of the advanced camera features we'll talk about on the Pro phones. But it's flush
Right.
to the casing. It's sapphire crystal. Click to launch, click to snap the photo, click and hold for video. It's touch
Hmm.
capacitive, so you can do light presses. You can do double light presses. Why did they not do this with the action button? That's one of my questions, right? And then they are giving API access
Right.
to this because they already mentioned that companies like Snapchat are taking advantage of it and integrating it into
Yeah.
the app, right? So all of that stuff is the same across the pros and the regulars. Then you've got the A18, of course. In the pros, you're going to get the A18 Pro, which we'll get to, but you're getting the
Right.
desktop class GPU, which is all that hardware acceleration, right, for the gaming. And they talked about how now you can play Assassin's Creed Mirage on
Yeah.
not the Pro iPhone, on the regular iPhone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah. Then you've got a 48 megapixel main camera. Then you've got a 2x telephoto lens. Those are going to be a little bit different. And you can do 4K 60 FPS video in Dolby Vision. And you can start doing spatial capture for 3D video and photos to play back on the Vision Pro or whatever, right? And other places. And so those are all phenomenal. Now, the pros are going to get a little bit better in those areas. But I mean, how many people really are going to care the difference between 4K 60 and 4K 120, right?
Yeah.
99% of
Yeah.
people are not even going to realize they can adjust that if they get the Pro phone. And I'm probably one of those. So
Okay.
improved microphones to reduce the wind noise for your videos. I talked about the better gaming support. You're getting the satellite service, the battery boost. Like I said, 22 hours of battery life on the entry level
Yeah.
16, right?
Yeah.
Same starting
That is a
prices.
big
They
deal.
did,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And they did mention trade in offers, which I find very interesting. I
Yeah.
think here's my theory on why they're mentioning trade-ins is because if you're not on a 15 Pro or newer, you can't run Apple Intelligence. So I think what they're
Yeah.
trying to point out to everybody is we've got trade-ins that you will want to take advantage of if you want a new phone because you want to run Apple Intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought about it. Remember when they mentioned it, I was like, this is really interesting. I just can't imagine why would they want a bunch of, because they said from the 12 up, right? From the iPhone 12 up. Um,
Yeah.
why would they give so much? But yeah, that makes sense. They want to get everybody one, they want everybody to use Apple Intelligence as soon as it's available. Two, that gets people off of those older devices. Yeah, yeah. So they're gonna have some awesome. I hadn't looked up the details to see because I'm curious about how much we're gonna get for certain models. But yeah, up to $1,000 for trade-in value for an iPhone 16. That's gonna be really good.
So my 15 Pro Max is saying that I could trade up to 650 bucks on the Pro Max. My Apple Watch Ultra, I already know what that is because I can get up to 290 on that one.
Right.
So yeah, 15 Pro Max up to 650, a 15 Pro 520. The 15, $410 of trade-in value
Wow.
on a 15.
That is that is pretty good.
Yeah,
That is
yeah. And
pretty
I'm
good.
looking the Series 9, so Ultra, Apple Watch Ultra 2, 365 if you had the Ultra 2 and wanted it to get the 10 or the different color one. So yeah, I mean pretty good trade-in values here, all things considered, which will come into play here in a minute when we talk about what our plans are. So
Right. So
the
I know that
16,
the
yeah.
camera and stuff. Well, I was going to say I know the cameras and stuff are awesome, but let's talk about the most important thing that I caught. What do you think about these colors?
Oh yeah. I skipped that. So you want the real differentiator? Actually, I don't think they're all that bad. So,
Right, right.
um,
And remember, we talked
yeah.
about this, and
So
we both were kind of disappointed with the colors.
yeah. So I don't know how they call it teal for one thing, but yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
looking at the app right now, and I mean, the blue actually looks pretty darn good. The black
yeah,
actually looks pretty black, which is kind of cool. But that green, that's what my wife's gonna pick. I already know that.
yeah,
She's gonna pick that. It is a little lighter than I would like, but yeah,
yeah,
I'm almost positive that that's what she's going to choose. So
yeah. So I
yeah,
thought about
actually
this. I was like, how
it
do I?
looks really good.
Yeah, I think so. I was like, how do I say this? Because I don't like. I'm not. I know guys. There are guys out there that love pink and stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not. I'm not saying. But I'm just not a pink guy. But I love the pink on this phone. It's as pink as you want pink to be, right? I look at the blue, and just like you, the blue is nice, but the blue could be a different shade of blue. The green, I don't know how they're calling it teal. It could. I can think of, you know, 100 different other shades of green that I would choose. White, it's always a good looking one. But that pink phone, if I wanted pink, that's the pink that I would want on my phone. It's crazy. It's just a
Yeah.
beautiful looking pink color. But I won't be getting it. But if you love pink, there's no other better pink. Apple picked the perfect pink for you.
Yeah.
So really, really cool on that.
I and that's honestly a lot of times. So there's two things that I think this can come down to: price and color. And
Right.
honestly, I don't think if you say I think the Pro colors are bleh, I think you're fine to say that and say I'm choosing the other phone because I want one of these cool colors. I don't think for 98% of the people you're compromising enough of anything else for that to matter. So I think I want
I
the
agree.
green
Yeah.
16 for 98% of the people. You know what? If it comes down to I like the color, I don't think you're losing out that much just because this was one of the surprises, right? They put so much into the 16. They
Yeah.
just they just did.
Yeah. They packed it
So
in there. They packed it in there. And with a $699 starting price, yeah, I think this is the phone.
so I
This is
just
it.
and we'll talk about this a little later, but I just kind of looked at what I would do for my wife and I want her to have the 256 and she can get $200 for her mini. I mean, just think
Hmm.
about the upgrade she's going to get from a 13 mini to a 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a whole new class, right? I mean, it's just crazy how much better it is. So,
Yeah.
but so let's talk about some of the differences now with the Pro, right? Because this is the class that we fall into. This is what informs Jason and I's decisions. The 16 Pro, I'm assuming, is going to factor in a little bit in in Wendy's decision and Karen's. But let's talk about this Pro stuff, because this is the stuff that factors in for us. So, as
Yeah.
rumored, a little bit larger display, 6.3 and 6.9, but very little. He didn't say no increase, but he said in order to not increase the form factor or whatever it was, we did thinner borders. But it makes it sound like there's probably at least a little bit of
Yeah.
um, of size increase on the actual physical cases of the phones on
Yeah.
these, in order to get that extra size
And
there.
and we're talking tiny differences, right? We're talking not anything that you will be able to feel,
Right.
like
Right.
measurable differences. You probably have to measure
Other
it to
than,
see the difference, but
or your case won't quite fit right. I mean,
yeah.
that's a likely thing, right? Your cases might be too tight now. So thinner border is the same ceramic shield stuff that we talked about earlier. Here's the
Hmm.
thing that I thought was cool, and I actually noticed this on the regular phones too. I really like the texture of the metal, right? Whether it
The
be the
kind of
aluminum
matted.
or the titanium. Yeah, and they're calling it on the Pro phones, they're calling it blasted. It does. It looks like you took a sandblaster, right, and
Hmm.
didn't scrape it across, but like sandblasted every square inch of the metal, right? And so
Yeah.
it just looks super cool, and I have a feeling it's going to feel really awesome, right? Less slick,
Yeah.
less like it's going to, like a bar of soap that's going to slip out of my hand. Now, who knows? They call it microblasted texture is what they're calling it, right? And the colors, they said the black is darker, although I just pulled up their promotional materials and it still stinking looks like it's a greenish grayish black sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Not as
it
black
just
as we want it.
frustrates the crap out of me, because it's not black. We're going to talk about black
Right.
when we get to the watch, right?
Right.
That's where we need to talk about black. That's coming up. So the
So
brighter white.
when you look
Oh
at
yeah.
the phone, we're talking about the black one, around the edge and around that camera bump. That's the black that I want the phone to
Yeah,
be.
exactly,
You know
right?
what I mean?
Make the whole
Yeah.
there's just this, and I love green, right? I'm a guy that loves green, but there's this green tint to this black that just should not
Yeah.
be there. So, but they said it's
Right.
darker. Okay, fine, but I didn't like the black one last year, so I don't like this one either. They said the white is brighter. That I don't need. So then they have natural titanium, which is basically the same color last year. And then, Jason, do you want to tell us about the fourth color?
Yes, it's a gold, and it looks just as gold as my iPhone 14, my 14 Pro Max. It looks good. It looks good. And remember the leaks and stuff, they were talking about maybe a rose gold or more of a yellowish kind of gold. No, this gold is pretty nice. It is pretty nice.
I
Yeah, I
still
like
don't think
this.
it's for me, but yeah, I figured you would
Yeah.
be there all
Yeah.
about that one. So
Still
yeah,
don't like the rounded edges, but I can definitely live with this phone. This looks really
I think
nice.
the rounded edges, I think they're going to feel really good though with that microblasted texture that they have on them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's the other thing. So 33 hours of video playback battery life, right?
Yeah.
Versus 27. So you're talking about 6 additional hours. You're talking about half of your, normal day, right? Kind of thing. 6 hours and 11 hours of battery life increase over the entry level phone. That is
Yeah.
something you have to take into account, right? I mean, 22 to 27 to 33 hours of battery life.
Yep.
Now, your mileage varies depending on how you use it, right? And a lot of people are
Right.
going to say, "Hey, you know what? When I work, I drop it on a Qi charger, and at night I've got it on a MagSafe charger. So who cares about battery life?" And absolutely, go ahead and say that. I completely agree with that, especially if you're using the uh, standby mode, the nightstand stuff, right? And you want
Yeah.
that at night because it's just going to charge overnight anyway. But 33 hours of battery life, which is just an
That's crazy.
incredible amount of battery life. Like if I look at my 15 Pro Max, the stated battery life, where is that at? I gotta find it now, is 29 hours. So it's only 2 hours more than the iPhone 16 Pro. 2 hours
Right.
is all. That's not a whole lot. And one of my decisions has been, am I going Pro Max? Am I going Pro?
Yeah.
And there's other factors in that. But now, the fact that I could go and basically have, especially now where my phone's a year old and the battery life's a little bit less, right? I could probably get
Hmm.
comparable battery life right now out of the iPhone 16 Pro as I can out of my Pro Max, a year old, right? With
Yeah.
battery degradation and stuff like that. So, new Pro chip,
Yeah.
yeah, and I zone out when they start talking about this chip stuff, right? Especially for this show, because we're trying not to get so dang geeky like that. Let's just say it's faster, better, everything will work smoother, and it
It
enables
is
a whole bunch
faster.
of stuff. Yeah,
So they
yeah,
did mention one of the things. I guess it's geeky, but not. It processes video a lot smoother and a lot better. Uh, she mentioned when she talked about gaming, the ray tracing, which is a big term when you talk about gaming. So again, waters look wetter. Flowers, you see the dew and stuff on flowers and videos and stuff like that. But tree branches and leaves and stuff look more realistic when the ray tracing abilities are better on that GPU. So yeah, I can see why. Of course, they're going to mention gaming, but yeah, things just look better when you have a better processor and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. So not super geeky, but it is a big deal.
Now, what is a big deal? As much as we talked up the camera features on the 16 Pro or the 16,
Yep.
right? And how that's probably fine for 98% of people.
Yep.
Those 2% that know they need the Pro features, holy cow, right?
Yep. This is the
And
camera that you need.
yeah. And from what
Yep.
I can tell, Jason, there is no difference this year between the Pro and the Pro
Yep.
Max. And
Yeah.
I've
Didn't
just
see
went through the
anything. They didn't
comparison
announce
page.
anything.
Yeah, I just went through the comparison page and couldn't see that. I can double check that between now and Friday. But here's 48 megapixel fusion camera. That's the one that does all of the stuff, right? And I think that's
Right.
48 megapixels already in the 15. This is the one where it'll take a 12 megapixel to zoom and put it into chunks of
Yeah.
four, blah, 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 blah. I don't know all of that kind of stuff. But they went from a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. So this is the one that you get the macro stuff, right? Is this the macro?
Hmm.
Yeah. This is the one that allows you to go down to macro mode, right? So you can get so
Yep.
ridiculously close to a something and
A
get the
rose petal or
details.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, 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 right. They went from 12 megapixel ultra wide to 48 megapixel ultra wide. So those
Right.
shots they were taking of like the frogs and stuff like that, I mean, you are definitely talking about detail. And I do find myself quite often having, because it's an automatic thing, right? Automatically pop up and tell me I've gone into ultra wide mode, right? So
Hmm.
what that means in the 16s and 16 or 16 Pros is that there shouldn't be a degradation in quality when you go into macro mode, right? Which is the problem that you have today. Now, for again, 98% of people, it probably doesn't matter because those 12 megapixel macro photos are probably just fine and dandy, right?
Yeah.
But to go to 48 and have that be equal with the main camera, yes, please, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
I can't wait to see
So,
people take pictures of like bees and stuff up close so you can see the fur and
yeah.
and stuff on the bees. Like that's amazing. That's amazing.
Um,
I was worried at first. So we back up for a second. Uh, they were still talking about the iPhone, and we had to, the quick back and forth. We noticed how much time they were spending on the iPhone and on the camera and things like that. And I'm like, wow, the clock is kind of running out on the Pro. What can they really talk about? Maybe it's just going to be just a basic little speed bump or whatever. But no, they really they really over delivered on this camera. They left just enough time because they included a lot more AI, Apple Intelligence filler stuffing and stuff like that when they started talking about the pros. But yeah, if you want a good camera, this is it.
Yep. They moved that 5x telephoto lens, that prism, whatever that lens system is, right? The mirrors. They
Hmm.
moved that to the smaller phone. So there you go, all equal. They said the camera control will be updated later for a 2-stage focus lock. And all of these new
Okay.
styles that are going to be available, you can actually see them in a real-time
Right.
preview. So there's this mode that you can go
Right.
into that'll kind of fade out everything that you're not focused on the photo, and then you can apply all of these styles with a little control paddy kind of thing, which I thought was really cool, and see what it's going to look like before you even snap the button. Now you can go
Right.
edit them after too, right? But
Yeah.
that is really cool, and that is pro level. That's only on the pros. That is not on the 16s.
Right. Right. That's only on the pro. So I'm wondering too if you'll be able to just revert that picture without the filter, or if you're snapping a picture in a filter. But I'm
I'm
willing to
assuming you'll
believe
be
that
able
you
to
can edit
revert it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, here
But yeah, man.
the
Yeah.
reason I
Go ahead.
think that's possible, so they also talked about video updates, right? And they're talking about 4K 120 frames per second. And then they started talking about capturing stuff in slow mode, which was one of Jason's favorite parts
Yes.
of the whole thing. But what was
Yeah.
cool about that is they said you don't have to decide that when you're
Yeah.
taking the video. You can decide it after. They have four slow motion,
Yeah.
well, 4 speeds. They've got
Yeah.
slow motion 24, they've got quarter speed, which was 30, they've got 60 frames per second, and then they've got the full 120. You just go in
120.
and decide
4K.
after the fact. After the fact, you're
Yeah.
going in and saying, well, I want this part at 24, I want this part at 60, and then I want to speed back up, right?
Yeah.
After the fact, you're doing this.
Yeah. I film a lot of 4K video, slow motion videos. I film a lot of slow motion videos, and this is always wondered, like, why does it stop at 60 FPS? Like, why can't I? Yes, this is going to be a welcome feature for anyone who loves taking slow mo videos on their iPhone. This is going to be a welcome feature. 4K, 120 FPS slow motion videos. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and so then they went and talked about the audio. They've got 4 studio grade microphones, right? And they're
Yeah.
positioned in certain places and blah 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 blah, right? So
Yeah.
but what was what they came in and said, okay, let us show you how all of this works together. And it's one of the weekend's latest music videos, I'm assuming, and they're shooting this
Right.
whole thing with these new iPhone 16 Pros in their gimbals and with all of their stuff, and of course they're doing it in RAW because they're putting it straight off to a card, all of those things that they can do. But I'm watching the effects and stuff that they're putting in here and how they're using these cameras, and I'm going, I have no idea how to do any of those things you're doing. I have no
Yeah.
use for doing any of it, but I want it in my camera,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's
Yeah. You
just
to know it's there.
the Apple reality distortion field when they were showing that promo of the behind the scenes on that video. I'm just like, oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah, please take
Yeah.
my monies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Give it to me. Give it to me. So uh, back to the microphone, right? They added like it's like 5 or 6 microphones now, and the 16 the 16 Pro. I just don't see people really using that, right? I guess I can see like amateur creators, right, using that in closed environments or whatever. But if you're a professional, you're gonna have the boom mic for over each of the actors, and I just don't see people using that. I don't know if this is cool. Don't get me wrong. Really cool that they included that. Really cool that they're thinking about stuff like that, right? Because in a controlled like studio environment, that would be good. I just don't see it really making a difference. You know what I mean? When it comes to production and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I could be wrong.
but I mean, didn't Billie Eilish like create her first album all on just stuff that that she had in her bedroom kind of stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
where I see
Yeah.
this coming in is I got my big break so I can pay the thousands and thousands of dollars, you know. Let's
Yep.
compare it this way. I mean, you and I both have. Oh, I have a microphone. You actually have one you haven't been using, right? But
Right.
I kind
It's
of
right
think of
here.
it in terms of, yeah, we're using as much stuff we have sitting around the house to do our podcast as we possibly can,
Yeah.
because we're not Marquez Brownlee, right?
Yeah.
So he can afford to go buy the $14,000 or whatever it is red cameras to record in 4K. I'm recording and we're publishing in 4K off of my 15 Pro Max, right? So
Yeah.
great. So I think of it kind of that way, right? I haven't got my big break yet, but I want to do some of this stuff, or I'm recording stuff for church, or I'm recording stuff for school or for work. I mean, the update to voice memos where you can have a guitar track. Let's say, you play the guitar and I'm the vocalist, and you record the guitar track and you send it to me in voice memos. And now I can go ahead and
Yes.
record myself right on top of that and have it record using those microphones. I mean, we're not doing this
Yeah.
to go platinum or anything like that, right? So I see it as super useful in that kind of stuff. And I don't want to knock the power of, let's say I have a teenage son that thinks they're into music, and I hand them down my 16 Pro Max and say, go nuts,
Yeah.
right? Do whatever, create whatever. Here's your iPad with GarageBand, go at it, right? And you're encouraging that kind of stuff. I also think about Dustin, who, if he decides to apply to, um, if he decides to apply for uh, uh, his master's program or a PhD program, could he just use his phone and not have to spend hundreds of dollars on a microphone? Because the quality improvement on an instrument like that, on a microphone, above and beyond what the phone could do, may not be enough to
Right.
justify it, right? And he's a college student. So, yeah, he's going to have a phone, but he may not have some of that other stuff. So, I just think there are those kind of use cases where it's there. And honestly, they didn't increase the price
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
adding this stuff
That's a
in.
good thing.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyway, I just think that's like ridiculously cool. The thing is, if you're anybody that's a creative professional, and Apple has always kind of had this reputation of catering to professionals, right? If you
Hmm.
are an aspiring creative professional trying to put things together to get that big break, right? You can take the Apple suite of hardware products and software and never leave it, with the exception of maybe buying a gimbal or a couple of things like that, right? And
Yeah.
produce pretty much whatever you want. Will it
And
be the
some really
same
good
as,
quality stuff.
yeah, will it be the same as Marquez Brownlee's 4K, or recording in 12K, or what? He's probably at 400K by right now, right? Will it be
Yeah.
the same as
Yeah.
that? No. Is the average consumer of that content going to be able to tell the difference? Probably not a whole lot, because they're watching
Yes.
his 12K and our 4K on the same 6.1-inch
Yeah.
iPhone screen, right? So, and I'm not knocking it. I definitely appreciate the quality of the stuff that he does for sure.
Oh
So I
yeah.
just think there's that. You want to get into that world. If I had a kid going to college for any sort of media or creative profession, right? Or that said, I want to see if I can make it on YouTube, or whatever the case may be, right?
Hmm.
iPad Pro, iPhone Pro, a couple of accessories. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Yeah. And they
So,
can get the job done and in style.
yeah. Yep. Last couple of things here. MagSafe updates, the new cases. I do find this fascinating that whatever they've done with their new cases, they also handle the camera control,
Yeah.
um,
That's pretty
because
cool.
it's touch capacitive, right? It is an actual button. I think this is really cool. It's blending actual click technology and touch capacitive technology. So it's got a pressure sensor underneath the click mechanism, right?
Hmm.
So it's sensing how hard you press down, not like the old home buttons used to be, right? That were touch capacitive only, that made you, and like the trackpads that make you think you're clicking when you're really not. But there's actual click. There's actual mechanical click in there, it looks like, from based on what they showed. But I find it
Yeah.
interesting that their cases are going to support that touch capacitive, because that looks freaking awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the
It does.
question's
And
going to
I'm.
be, is anybody else going to be able to duplicate that? Or if you really want to take advantage of that, are you going to be stuck
Yeah.
going, caseless or have to get Apple.
Yep. Yep. And that's what I'm wondering if these Amazon, these cheapo knockoffs or whatever, they're not necessarily cheap, but good quality, if they're going to be able to duplicate that. And, or
Yeah.
once pocket lint and dust and stuff gets, caught in that
Yeah.
case, will it still function the same? Will you feel yourself, catch yourself just having to take the case off every week and clean that little button or something like that? So
Yeah.
it'd be cool to find out.
It also said it's the fastest charging. I think they actually, so they said it's the fastest charger. So again, a little bit of mitigation on battery life, right? Is if you can charge,
Mm-hmm.
like on the watch, one of the things they talked about on the watch is 0 to 80 in 30 minutes, which
Yeah,
is just
that was cool.
ridiculously fast,
Yeah.
right? So, if you can
You don't
charge
even
it up
need
that
80%
fast,
to get through a whole day, right? So
no,
30 minutes, you can charge it at 80%. Just a quick 15-minute charge should get you through most of the day, right?
yeah,
In theory,
yep,
that's crazy.
yep.
I love it. But yeah, we'll talk about
Price
the watch
starting,
shortly.
yeah. Starting prices remain the same. Again, they mentioned trade-in offers of up to $1,000, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do some of this, which is just interesting that they're mentioning that. And then this one and the AirPods, no, this one is pre-order Friday and available on the 20th. The AirPods were all pre-order today, available on the 20th. Anything else,
Yeah,
Jason, that you
real
can think
cool.
of on the phones for now for hot takes?
Well, I'm going through my notes. I just quickly mentioned that, they really didn't make a big deal about the battery improvements. And like you said, I think it was just mostly, most
It
of
was
the
in their
improved
promo.
battery life was going. Yeah, yeah. But they didn't
They
talk
said
about
it
it.
in
They
the
didn't break it
promo.
down
It's
and
no, and all it said was battery boost in that one promo
yeah.
video of the iPhone 16. It said
Okay,
battery
I didn't catch that.
boost. Yeah, battery
Yeah.
boost.
So I'm thinking most of the improvements were just to handle the new processor. You know what I mean? To handle that the new processor and some of these new features and stuff like that. The new
Yeah,
screen. Yeah. So even though there were some battery improvements, they didn't really make a big deal about it. I noticed that. What else? There was one more thing. Oh, okay. Oh, you got the MagSafe. Also, too, the MagSafe is coming in two different lengths, right? They have 2 meters and a 1 meter cable to give people some
the
options.
new cable. And there was
Yeah.
something about the silicone cases actually don't have the ring on the outside, which is I actually don't like the aesthetic of the MagSafe charging ring that's on all the
hmm
cases that it works on. I like it when it's hidden, and their new silicone cases didn't have it. So I think they're probably just allowing straight pass through. There's probably no magnet in the case. Period. End of story. My only concern, and I've had this problem, is one of the reasons I stopped going caseless was because the phones, that glass is just so slick that it slides off
Right.
MagSafe chargers easy in my car, on my nightstand, and it's just like, okay, no, I got to have a case to make it hold stronger on the
Yeah.
chargers. And I'm not
Yeah.
using cheap chargers, right? I'm using Anchor. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not any cheap Amazon knockoff stuff. It's yeah. We buy. I actually was recommended on Reddit too the other day. I'm like, only buy Anchor or the actual the original Apple stuff. Like, there's no
Right.
reason to. You get what you pay for. So,
Yep.
private cloud compute. I want to get some more details on that, but I thought that was really intriguing. I like the whole idea about these personal clouds and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in another show, but basically,
Yeah.
like they keep mentioning, they're going to do a lot of the processing between the device itself and in the cloud, so your information is protected. So, but yeah, we'll get some more details and report back to you guys on that.
Yeah. I figured we probably wouldn't hit the Apple Intelligence stuff too much today just because
Yeah,
it's no different, right? And next week the Golden Masters or the release candidates are going to drop, so we'll have plenty to talk about then. So,
yeah. But I'm
okay.
ready for some Apple Watch talk.
Jason, tell our listeners the rumor that came out late last night, that up until late last night was the one primary biggest reason that I think both of us were
Right?
excited about the event today, what happened
Yep.
last night late from the one person. If you don't want a rumor to be true, this is the one person you don't want it to come from.
Exactly, because when you sent me the text, and it was I forgot what time it was. It was pretty late. I thought like, okay, this is just a rumor. You hear rumors, and then I saw who it was reported by, Mark Gurman, and no Ultra threes. So no Apple Watch Ultra threes this year. Probably not going to be in the spring. Um, yeah, bit of a bummer. And I still kind of held out hope because Gurman's not 100% right all the time. But looking at the time frame and the time when the announcement came out, it probably was 98% for certain that we weren't getting them. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think we both went in today knowing that we weren't getting the Ultra threes, which what we were really looking forward to. But surprisingly, like I mentioned earlier in the show, the Series 10 is
Well,
S
hold
Ultra
on.
as a series. Okay.
Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. Let's
Okay.
just let's
Okay.
let's
Okay.
get the let's get the semi boring news out of the way. So no,
Yeah.
there is no Ultra 3, but they
Yeah.
did release the Ultra 2 in what
Yeah.
they called satin black.
Yeah.
Now, Jason, I'm going to tell you, it looks pretty darn good, with one exception. Well,
The
two
orange button.
exceptions, because it's in the orange button and the orange crown.
Yeah.
And
So anybody that's been listening, if you hadn't listened to all the show, Greg hates the orange on this watch. Actually, it doesn't bother me at all. It's kind of subtle too on the on this color. I believe on the jet black version though, it's gonna stand out even more. And Greg
it
hates that
is.
orange button.
Now, so remember, so I know a long time ago they used to put the red ring on the ones with cellular, right? And I really
Right.
didn't like that. I wanted the solid, so they actually made stickers so you could cover that up. And I'm assuming there are stickers somewhere out there that I can cover up the orange if I really wanted to do that. But that black looks really, really, really good. And
Right. Right.
like they do, they have updated the bands. So if you get the black one, and I looked on all the bands that are specific for the Ultra, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
look on those bands now, you actually have two lug color options. So you choose the black or you choose the silver. So you're getting
Right.
all of the hardware to match that up. And that black Milanese does look pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's but that's it, right? There's nothing else on the Ultra 2. There's no new features other than what's coming with actually there is one new feature, but other than what's coming with WatchOS 18, that's it. There's new band colors, which actually I like a couple of those, so I might have to throw some of those in the cart. And then same thing, you can pre-order it today, same price, starting price as it was before, and then availability on the 20th. So
Yeah.
that was all of the Apple Watch Ultra news for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So a bit disappointed. And if you remember, I'm still mad with Apple over the Ultra 2 anyway. I thought it
Yeah.
was a useless product. They only put it out just so they can sell a feature that was broken. I'm sure it's improved now, but the whole pinch to select without the whole
Yeah.
accessibility thing, they just created a new watch. Oh, we made the screen a little brighter and you could pinch to select. I was really upset with Apple over that. They didn't need to. So the Ultra 2 is kind of um, a useless product for me, but so I won't be getting a black one. It does look really good
Don't
though.
don't
It
don't
looks really
spoil
good.
that stuff. I mean, come on. No. So the thing is, here's the thing. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I did want to point out, if you want that Milanese, we're back to having two prices. So all of the other bands, unless you go to Hermes, which anyway,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they're all the regular ones, the Oceans, which there are some new colors on, the Trail Loop and the Alpine Loop. All of those start at $7.99. The Milanese starts at $8.99, and then the Enmer, I guess, is what they say for Hermes, is
Yeah.
$1,400. So, you know, it's an extra, it's almost doubling the price of the watch for the band. So,
Yeah, just for the band. And it's a nice looking band, but you're paying for two watches for the band. Yeah.
and by the way, it does look like I can get stickers for the button
Okay, cool.
on my Apple Watch Ultra to just get rid of
Yeah.
the orange. So,
That orange is
yeah.
okay. It's not the best color choice to put there. I think red would be better, especially on the black, right? The lighter
Yeah.
color, you get the orange, the black one, you get the red. I think that would have been a better choice, but hey,
Yeah.
it's
Here's the
still.
thing. Formal, when you want it to look formal, like when I go to the temple, right? So for those of you
Hmm.
that don't kind of know what that is, but when I go to church, I'm in a suit, right? Generally dark colors. So I
Yeah,
wear a black band. I have a black leather band that I wear. And so the black with the silver watch, great. But then you've got this little orange ring sticking out underneath a white shirt. When I go to the temple, I wear a white band because we change into white clothing in the temple. And so you got
right.
all white, orange, all white,
Right.
orange. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just it's just one of those things. Anyway, so
Yeah. Well, thankfully, Greg's band game is pretty strong, right? With all of the ones we buy from Amazon, the same uh, ones bands we share back and forth and stuff. And you found those stickers, so you're gonna test them out and let us know how that works.
yeah, I'm just looking at them. I'm hoping that they fit with the Ultra because they have all different kinds of colors, and of course, none of them are black, but they do have green. So
Yes, yeah, the dark green. It's your kind of green too.
yeah,
You mean the
yeah.
the Alpine Loop? Yeah, it's
No,
a
I'm
nice
talking about the
green.
stickers. Talking about the stickers.
Oh,
Actually, they
oh,
do
okay.
have. From a band standpoint, it actually looks like they have um, colors that I like this year. They've got a green one,
Yeah,
um,
that tan one is
and
really nice.
but they also have a black one that's almost a solid black trail loop. And I've been looking for a solid black band that I would wear regularly. So anyway, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Uh, Jason, Apple Watch 10, kind of like
Yeah.
the iPhone 16 got all the press, not all of it, but a lot of press.
Yep. A lot of
I'm
tension.
pretty impressed with the Apple Watch Series 10.
Yep. I'm
How
with you.
about you?
I'm with you. And yeah, like we were saying, this is as ultra as the regular series of Apple Watch is gonna get, right? This is, like they always say, the best iPhone ever, the best MacBook ever. This is actually the best Apple Watch ever. And that's including our first generation Ultra too. This is a really really good. They did a phenomenal job on this iPhone, giving people a value for what's in the device, price range, color options, everything. I think they nailed it with this one. This one was really a big deal.
Yeah, I'm impressed, right? I mean, they didn't
Yep.
mention that it's the 10th anniversary. Um,
Yeah, nothing about that.
but it is, and I think they've kind of stepped it up there. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, if we just kind of run down through this and then we can talk about some of the comparisons, but the display is actually bigger than the Ultra display. It got
a
a
bigger
better
display.
display, bigger
Yep.
and better. It's now they're calling it wide angle OLED, so that, and they said this is the first ever for Apple, which means it's not on the Ultra. So if you're looking at it from an angle or stuff like that, it's going to be good to go. They say it's 40% brighter. I wanted to look and see. So it's still not as bright as the Ultra 2. So the Ultra 2 will go up to 3,000 nits, and
Yep.
the 10 goes up to 2,000 nits. But when viewed at an angle, it's saying it's 40% brighter over what. So in theory, the display is probably better because, frankly, the last thing I've ever worried about is the display on my Ultra bright enough, to be
Yeah.
honest. So,
Right. Right.
um, the new display and maintaining battery life, they're able to update it 1 time per second in always on mode, which means that the second hand on an analog watch face is always available in always on mode, where it isn't on
Yeah.
others, because it's only updating, it's updating much less frequently.
Yeah, I think once a minute, or was it a minute
Yeah.
or something like
Well, they
that?
said it's gone from once a minute now to once a second. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
that the Ultra is the once a minute as
Yeah.
well.
So probably feels more like a watch, right? More like an actual watch. Looking at an actual mechanical watch versus a
Right.
smart or digital watch. So yeah.
Yeah. I keep jumping around here and then it jumps on me. Sapphire front crystal, great. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk colors. Apple. I'm just going to tell you that if you're going to do a black, this is the black
Yeah.
to do.
This should
Okay?
match the iPhone. Right. Right.
This is the black you want to do. Now, it's polished black, fine. I would take this black matte any day of the week. The problem is when I switch from, so now on this, they've also introduced titanium. So it's aluminum and titanium. You can pick either one of those, right? And then you're going to pay the price increase. But it is jet black. I mean, jet black. So that, Apple, is what you should be doing when it comes to black. If you're going to tell me something is black, please and thank you. That is the black color that I want to have. Even on their titanium one, they're calling it slate, and it is not as black as that polished black.
Yeah, as a jet black one. Yeah.
Yep. So you've got black, you've got a rose gold. They've gone back to that, which I've never really enjoyed. And then you've got the silver, and then you've got sort of the same versions of those in titanium. You've got slate titanium, gold titanium. Actually, it's not rose gold. It's really gold. That is a gold watch. That really does look good on that titanium one. And then you've got the natural titanium, which would match what we've got on the Apple Watch Ultra at this point. So, introduce some new colors in there, but I'm surprised that they didn't go a little more fun on the 10, right? And do the greens or the blues or whatever they were doing with the other stuff. So, but they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised too. I was expecting more. No red version this time, which I'm sure want to come eventually. But yeah, I'm surprised too. They didn't do some weird, some teal or some things like that.
But
this is. Oh, go ahead.
No, feel free.
Well, I was going to talk about the screen size before we move on from the screen. Looking at the comparisons, man, it is. So it's already thinner, right? So it's flatter. And then just with that bigger screen, this was. So remember before we got the Ultras, I was worried about how bulky it looked, right? I didn't want one of those big giant watches like the hip hop artists and stuff wear. I was always worried it was going to get snagged on things and this edge around the screen was going to be looking a mess, a year later from it being banged against metal and counters and things like that. But this is what I wanted out of this watch. I wanted it thin, flat, and wider. And that's what they did. And man, looking at these previews and stuff, it looks, wow, impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like this watch.
They're saying it's 10% thinner than the Series 9, which is a big deal, right? Especially if you think about putting it on over a dress shirt that the wrist is tight or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talked about 80% charge. We talked about polished titanium. Okay. And I just looked something up, which makes me happy. They have a new speaker system.
Oh, yeah.
Finally, they will allow you to play media back through the speakers on the watch. Now, it is not going to be high quality. I don't care when I'm wearing my watch if I want the sound to come through it. I just want it to do its thing. If I forget my headphones on a bike ride or something like that, and I want to crank it out through the Apple Watch, let me do it. And so I'm sitting there going, oh, man, that's a big deal for me. It looks like they're enabling it on the Ultra 2 as well. When I pull up the comparison page, and they did not mention that, when I pull up the comparison page and search for the word speaker, I get to that section where it's showing the speakers or showing that for all three. So it's got the SE up for whatever reason. Don't buy that watch. But it's got that speaker up, and on both the 10 and the Ultra 2 it says media playback underneath them.
Yeah. And in theory too, like your voice messages, right? I do a lot of voice messages with my
Sure.
family group chat and all of that. And without having to bobble around with my AirPods or whatever, I should be able to listen to those messages from my watch without having to go and grab my phone or just listen to the message later or something like that. So yeah,
Yep.
I'm thinking along with the media, maybe some interface commands and stuff like that, or like Siri replies and things like that. Maybe.
Right. Yep. Then there's a couple of new watch faces. They show the reflection face that matches the color of the casing. Actually looks pretty cool. It's got some stuff in it. Obviously a new
Yeah.
processor, clearer phone calls. They're adding the depth and the water temperature gauges. I didn't realize that they didn't have those until my wife got her Series 9 and we got in the pool and I said, "Oh, it should just automatically detect it." And she's like, "Well, mine doesn't do that. Mine doesn't do that."
Yeah.
And it doesn't, because it
No,
doesn't
that was
have
an
it. It
ultra
was
feature.
just the Ultra. So, but it's
Right.
going to have both of
Right.
those now. And then the new feature that it got, sleep apnea detection.
Yeah.
So this is another one where they're getting regulator approval. They called that out. And this is going to monitor breathing disturbances, is what they called it. They said they did it with the largest study of sleep apnea ever done, is
Mm-hmm.
how they figured this out. And it's going to be available on the Series 9 and the Ultra 2, the Series 10 as well. So it'll once a month, it'll give you a summary and kind of come back. And if your results say that you may have moderate to severe sleep apnea, it's going to tell you and suggest you go talk to a doctor. Really
Yeah.
great.
Which,
I didn't realize they
which
said that
is
80% of people with sleep apnea go undetected
yeah.
and undiagnosed.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of the same with AFib, right? This is one of
Yeah.
those things where, it's not a medical tool, but if it gives you a warning or you see a trend, then go see a professional and you can detect these sort of things early. You know what I mean? It's just another
Yep.
big win for Apple when it comes to health and breaking into that field of healthcare and stuff like that. Man, this is just another big step. But
Yeah.
please give us a blood pressure monitor soon. Ultra
That
3
would be
blood pressure
so
monitor.
nice.
Please give us that. Right, right. But no, this is a big deal for some people. And like you said, 80% of people go undiagnosed. Really cool.
Yep.
Really good move by Apple.
New bands, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's all I had for
Yeah.
the watch. Jason, how about you? Anything else on the watch that you?
Yeah. Well, let me check my notes. Let me switch back over. And I know I was bumping it around as I keep jumping back and forth. But you know, while I'm pulling this up here, right out of the gate, you said you missed that intro video. That intro video started off with like just all of the great stories of the Apple Watch and the phone too, not just the watch, but it was the watch, all Apple products saving people's lives. You know what I mean? There was one guy, and it showed them in their real life. There was one guy. It detected AFib in him, and he went and got diagnosed and got treated and stuff. There was a lady that was missing one of her limbs, and she was using some of the accessibility features on the watch to do certain functions and stuff on the phone. Handicapped people, people with all kinds of medical conditions. Someone that got into a wreck and what was it? The crash detection um, saved his life and stuff like that. So just right out of the gate, they started off with showing people what they can do um, with this, and it's more than just replying to text messages and listening to music. Right? These things can really help you lead a happy and healthy lives. We love technology just for the geeky stuff, right? You and I, Greg, we love brighter screens and faster processors and just doing all of the cool things. But man, it's more than that. And when they get their hands on some of these federal approvals, these regulations, and like I said, insurance companies start footing the bill for, hearing aid patients to get, well, they don't really need a big blown out, full blown And I learned from you that these things can be thousands of dollars. Well, rather than
Right.
doing that, the insurance company would rather pay, hey, if you only need it for 3 or 4 hours out of the day, wouldn't the insurance company rather pay $3.99, $4.99, or whatever for, you know what I mean, instead of a few $1,000? So I can see where Apple's going in this direction, breaking into this healthcare industry, and I think they're doing it the right way. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
but yeah, that was all I had. Just the new band colors. Also, too, I put here, I forgot to buy my. I just realized I'm gonna buy it this week. So remember when they released the Ultra 2 and they had those new Nike bands? You have one, the one with the confetti. It looks like it's confetti in the band.
Uh-huh.
I
Love
forgot to
it.
buy that. Yeah, I figured, and I loved it when I saw it. But when they mentioned the new bands, I'm like, wait, I forgot to buy my old band. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna buy that band this week.
Yeah, I think
It just
when
slipped
I
my
go in
mind.
and look, I got to decide which band I'm getting with the watch, right? And then I think there's a couple
Right.
others in there that I think I'll be purchasing. I might as well just
Wait, we
add to
weren't
my.
talking about whether we were buying the watches yet. You just spoiled it. But let's jump into that. That was all I had about the announcement. So let's talk about it. What are you going to go with?
What do you want to start with? You want to start? Let's start with AirPods. Are you buying any?
Uh, I may, but I'm not in a rush to buy them.
You need to buy
I
the
was
pros.
disappointed.
You need to buy the
Yeah,
pros.
yeah, because I don't think we're going to see the Pro threes for,
Yeah.
again, if we're not talking about this time next year, we're talking about the year after. I think I'll probably go with the pros and not the new AirPods or the AirPod Pluses. Not those. They're
Right.
really nice though. I really like them, but I'm not going with those. Not for the smaller case.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you
How
want to go
about you?
next?
You're gonna go?
No, I'm not buying any
Oh, you're
AirPods.
not going?
I mean, I've got
No
the pros,
AirPods?
right? I mean, they're going to update my Pro 2s. There's nothing for me to buy that's better than what I have now that they're going to update those Pro 2s to get the extra hearing stuff. So, yeah, no, I'm good.
Right, right.
So,
Okay, let's talk about the phone.
all right.
For me, as much as I love that gold, I'm not gonna rush out and grab it. I'm not gonna
Okay.
rush out and grab it. Wendy needs an upgrade. You know what we have coming up, right? And it's longer this time, right? We're going for 12 days. Um, the kids, once they get on and they start with their arcades and they're wanting snacks and they're wanting the bill can add up pretty quick. So I'm gonna put the phone off until the holidays. You know what I mean? With maybe some deals, maybe some specials, or even until next spring. Um, but as far as iPhone purchases for Wendy, iPhone 16, I know she doesn't want that pink one. Probably gonna be the black one. But yeah, iPhone 16, not the Plus, just the entry level one.
Black looks
It's
pretty
gonna be,
good.
yeah, yeah. I think she'll
So
like it.
does that
Of course, I'll let
so
her
does that blue.
pick it.
So,
Yeah, the blue one looks really good too. So she'll pick the color, but definitely one iPhone 16, and then we'll just do iPhone shuffle and pass everyone to bump their devices down. And my daughter, who I feel doesn't need a phone at all, she'll get my son's. She'll get his 12. What is it? 12. I think it's a 12 Pro. Yeah, she'll get that one. But yeah, so just one iPhone purchase for us. How about you guys?
this could be a problem. This could be an expensive season in the overall Cunningham family here. So,
Right,
I
because you have
believe,
several people that are needing upgrades now,
yeah,
and not
I
just the
don't
shuffle,
know.
not just the hand me downs. They need new devices.
Correct. I
Right.
don't know if my wife is going to agree with me, but I think she needs to get off that mini. I
Yep.
just think we're now on the 16. It's 3 years old. The battery life's not phenomenal. And so I think that one, in my opinion, is a slam dunk. Now, she may fight me on it, but that's going to be my recommendation to her. So I think a green, I've already got it in my saved, right? A green iPhone 16, probably the
Hmm.
256, not the 128, probably the 256. Um, that's probably what's in the market for her. So that's my recommendation to her. She can pick the color, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure she would pick that green.
Right.
So The other problem that I have is all three of my other kids that are on iPhones. I have one that's on a Android. All three of
Hmm.
the others are on 12s or 12 Pros. So I've
Oh,
actually got a
okay.
12. I've got a 12 Pro in my drawer here. Dustin's got a 12 Pro. Wyatt's got a 12, and Kristen's got a 12. So they're all
Okay.
on. And Wyatt's can't plug in to charge anymore. Only the wireless charging works. Dustin
Wow.
mentioned to me that it's time for him to save for a new one. And Kristen's
Hmm.
on that 12 that was my mom's. So, and you're talking about a generation that lives on these devices, right? I mean, they
Right.
just absolutely live on these devices. So, um, my recommendation probably to my oldest daughter is going to be a 16. My
Hmm.
recommendation to Dustin is going to be to go to the Pro. Now, he
Okay.
might push back a little bit on that, but if he's really going to want to do all of this stuff, then the Pro may be better for him. He's a professional musician, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how he makes a living. So that may make more sense for him. And Wyatt wants to get into social media and do videos as a personal trainer. So I may be recommending the Pro level to him as well.
Yeah. I
So
would imagine so with videos, editing and stuff like that. I
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on both of those. They probably need pros more than the regular.
Now the question is, so I can get $650 of trade-in value for my Pro Max, and for my 12 Pro, I could get $220, and for the 12s, I can get 180. Right, so
Hmm.
there's some trade-in value that can definitely happen in there. We would just have to figure out how to work this out. It's the reality is it's all going to hit my credit card first anyway, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
that's how it goes. The question is, when do they pay for said devices? So I need to talk to all of them, and if they're listening, hopefully we'll have had this conversation before they actually get to this and listen to it. So um,
Yeah.
I'll share a couple of things with you when we get offline, but um, I want all of them on newer hardware. Let me just put it that way. I want all of them on the hardware that's got crash detection. When my daughter is driving, did a 5.5 or a 6 hour drive the other weekend.
Hmm.
I want the safety features, right? The
Yeah.
satellite features, the other kind of stuff. Um, so I'm going to be pushing them to upgrade, and that's where I think they're going to go. I am going to ask, and I don't know if any of them will take me up on it, but I am going to ask if any of them want my 15 Pro Max, right, before I
Right.
trade it in.
Right.
So if any of them do,
Right.
that makes that a little bit easier.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say. We talked about the family, but we hadn't talked about you. What are you
Yeah,
thinking? If you can get one of them to take your 15, are you thinking about
even if they
going?
can't with even if I can't with $650 of trade in value on it,
Yeah.
I'm trading
Yeah.
in. I'm
Yeah.
trading in. So 256. I don't think I need the Pro Max.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason I need the Pro Max. I don't play games on it. I don't watch videos on it that often. I want the camera. I want the capabilities and all that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you're talking about. Um, let's see if has it got everything. Now I got to go back through it because I realized I had picked uh, the max version just out of default. So now I got to run back through this, right? And $450 after trade in before Apple Care.
That's not
It's
bad.
just not.
That's
No, I mean
Yeah.
Apple Care is going to be add another $200 onto that, and I will go with that. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
We call it Apple Likes on this show. Apple Likes
yeah,
is
Apple
200
likes.
bucks, right?
So I think I'm going 16 Pro, um, possibly back to the Pro Max, but I think I would rather have the smaller phone.
Okay.
And what it's coming down to for me is the camera. I just want the camera. I want to be able to talk about Apple Intelligence on this show. I want all of those fancy features, even if I don't use them. And
Yeah.
the reality is, if I bought myself a 16, I wouldn't want it. I'd regret it, right? The whole time. You know me well enough to know
Right.
that
Right.
I would regret it. So I'm either getting a Pro or I'm not upgrading this year. That's kind
Right.
of where I'm at. So
Yeah.
yeah, this could be a super Cunningham iPhone upgrade cycle. So
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like it. And I forgot to mention too, if I do decide, again, I'm going to put it off, whether it's later this year or early spring next year. It's going to be a Pro Max. I'm not ever getting a smaller
yeah,
phone than the Pro Max. So 16 Pro Max in gold, definitely the gold. I can't wait to see it in person, but
I'm
yeah,
gonna
it just won't
toy
be right
with.
away.
I'll toy with the gold. Gonna
Yeah,
toy with
it
the
looks
gold,
really good.
maybe. But so here's the other reason why I think I'm not gonna go with the Pro Max is that if my wife pushes back and says no, really, I'm okay with the Mini right now. I get the Pro. Next year, I upgrade. She takes my Pro, right? Because she will.
Right.
She will not take a Pro Max. She doesn't want the bigger phone.
Yeah.
So there's a pass down there. So
Yeah.
all
Which
right,
is always a great thing, right? That makes things a lot easier when it comes to upgrading.
all right, Jason. I think I know the answer to this. I'll let you go first. Is there an Apple Watch going to be purchased?
Yeah. So again, I don't like the Ultra 2 as a product, as a business decision. So I won't be getting that Pro the Ultra 2. Before Wendy left for her doctor's appointment, I just told her on the way out, just let me know what color you want. Just let me know what color. She turned around and she looked and she picked the color she wanted. And yeah, so definitely one Series 10 for her. Uh,
What
I
color?
told you the silver one, the one that's the closest it
Okay,
is. I
the
forget what they
natural.
call it.
The natural.
The
Oh,
natural, the
so you're
natural.
doing
Yeah,
silver aluminum, right? You're not doing titanium. You're doing silver aluminum.
aluminum. Yeah, yeah, not
Yeah, yeah.
titanium.
Okay.
So for me, I'm really on the fence about this because I really, really love
That
that watch, the Series 10.
gold titanium looks really
Yeah,
good, Jason.
it does. I wouldn't do a gold watch again. Remember my what was it? The
I
Series
know,
9 I
but
had was
it
gold.
looks pretty good, buddy. No, you got to go.
Yeah,
If you're going to do aluminum, you got to do that jet black for you,
yeah.
right?
That's
If you're going to do titanium, then I would say the slate or the natural.
yeah, yeah. So I'm thinking the black one for me. I'm thinking,
The
you
So
know,
aluminum black, it's the
yeah,
cheaper
aluminum
one,
black
right? And
and
knowing that
aluminum natural.
most likely next year there's going to be a new version of the Ultra, right? I mean, you got to
Right.
think about that. So going with the cheaper of the watches, that's probably not a horrible
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. So I'm thinking at least the two watches. The Go one really looks good, but you know
I'm
when you
telling
have it
you.
in person, you know the
Yeah.
problem I ran into, if I mention it, was the watch bands. Right?
Yeah.
You know my watch band game is like yours. Like right, I like to match my watch band with whatever outfit I'm wearing that day, and that gold just didn't match with a lot of the bands that I already had. Now I know I can buy a bunch of more bands that'll go with it, but it just didn't go with any of the bands I wanted. So while I
Well,
like gold, it just was too professional all the time. You know what I mean? And
and to
sometimes
be
I wanted a
honest,
lime green.
yeah. To be honest, I mean, I love the jet black, but it's too. I'm not. That's too flashy for me. Same problem with the gold, which is why I'm worried about the gold phone. I'm just
Right.
way more muted tones than that,
Yeah.
right? Matte versus
Right.
any of the other
Right.
stuff. So yeah, no, I totally understand. Okay, so
Yeah.
a jet black, and a
And the
silver,
natural. Yeah.
the silver aluminum Apple Watch
Maybe I'm
Series
really
10.
trying to talk myself out of it because remember too, this is a warranty replacement. The battery life is
Yeah, so
still
your
awesome
battery
on it.
life is
It's
still at
not a scratch.
100%
It's
then.
not a
Yeah,
yeah. Yep.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I actually really don't want to trade this in. I really don't want to trade it in. So I think I can do another year on this But oh, man, I really want this Series 10.
Yeah,
I really want this Series 10. So definitely, again, definitely one for Wendy because she's her old Series 7. Actually, I see it. She doesn't even put it on. Like it's still on her charger by the bed. That's how terrible the battery life is on it.
yeah,
So all of those are going to be traded. All of those old series, whichever ones they'll take, or give anything, even if it's $20 for it, we're going to
yeah,
get rid of it or recycle it anyway, right? I don't want it to be like my original one. I told you the battery swelled up on it and popped the screen off. So we'll get rid
yeah,
of those. She's definitely getting one, but man, it's going to take all the way up until I swipe my card for me to decide
yeah.
if I'm going to go with the Series
Well,
10.
you got to pre-order today if you want them here by the time you leave on your cruise. So,
Well, and that's why I was thinking we go in the day before because it's on the 20th. We go into the store that day. We'll
see
be
if you
able to
can get
see
them.
them in person, yeah, and see if we can get them. So just sort of like I did with the iPad. I'll just line up in front of the door before they lift the gate open, and they're usually inside doing their little pep rally or whatever. They open the gate, and if they have some in stock, we'll get to look at them and choose one then. But
Cool.
um,
Yeah. That's how I got my first
I'll
one.
see.
That's how I got the original. Is I walked into a store and they're like, "Yeah, actually, we have some." So, and
Right.
honestly, so I've got a couple in my bag right now, and they're
Mm-hmm.
still showing delivery on. They're still showing delivery
Okay.
on the
Still on
20th,
launch
both of
day
them.
on the 20th.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good,
So
good. I mean, they have millions of these out in the wild already, right? From series, people are probably still wearing those older, like Series 6, Series
yeah,
7, as long as the battery life is still good. So I wouldn't imagine these are going to sell out like they would,
I think
you
the
know.
10 might more than the Ultra 2, even in the black.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so
think so. I agree with that.
let's have this debate. So my wife's just got a Series 9, no big deal there.
Yeah, y'all just
If
bought
my
watches. Y'all
which
just
for
bought
her,
a couple of,
yeah,
right.
no,
Well,
just
and your
one,
swimming
just
one.
one.
Oh, that's right. You
No,
took her old, you're
my
swimming
swimming one
with
was
her
my
older one.
old Series 7. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So, and I've decided I can get by with that. It's actually I must have had something hung up on the battery because it's only dropping like 10 or 15% a workout now. So,
Okay.
so not a big deal. So, um, okay, so let's go through this because I have a Series 10 titanium black or satin or slate titanium, which is the darker one, which I really don't like the
Mm-hmm.
look of as much. And I have the black titanium Ultra 2 in my cart. So, all right, let's go through these differences real fast. So,
Okay.
49 millimeter on the titanium versus 46 millimeter on the Ultra 2 versus the Series 10, right? So the watch
Mm-hmm.
is considerably smaller, right?
Mm-hmm.
The display is better in theory on the Series 10, but not as bright. So your ECG, your heart rates, your heart rhythms, your cardio fitness, um, the blood oxygen app, by the way, is not available on either of these.
Right.
So they have not solved that particular problem. Sleep
Right.
tracking, sleep apnea, the new what do you call it app? Okay, the Vitals app, right? All of the fall detection, crash detection, all that kind of stuff is the same. Now, the Ultra 2 has a siren, that siren feature. I'm just pointing out the differences right now, right?
Yeah. I forgot
Um,
about that.
yeah,
And
water resistant.
you're out on trails, you're out on, you're more
Yep,
in, you will
yep,
more than likely have to use that before I would.
yeah, 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 yeah. Now, water resistant up to 100 meters. If my watch goes to 100 meters, I'm not going to care because I'll be dead. So, um,
Right.
unless it falls off, right? There you go.
Right.
High speed water sports, recreational scuba, blah, 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 blah. Improved GPS on the Ultras. They still have the dual frequency GPS, right?
Yeah.
The chip is the S10 versus the S9, but double tap, fast on device Siri with health access, find my iPhone, all that kind of stuff is still the same in the Ultra and the Series 10. They're better than what I have right now. So,
Yeah.
battery life 36 versus 18. 18 hours of
18
battery
on the
life on the
Ultra.
Series 10. Yeah. The
Okay.
Series 10
Okay.
is only 18 hours of battery life, 36 hours in low power mode. The Ultra,
Okay.
so you're going to get through a full day, but you're going to need to charge it. But again, remember, so there's charging difference. So here, the Series 10 is going to charge 0 to 80% in 30 minutes. The Ultra takes 0
Mm-hmm.
to 80% in an hour, right?
Yeah.
But the Ultra does get 36 hours of battery life on a
Mm.
single charge versus 18.
And with
That's a
that, I'm out. That made up
You
my
think
mind
so?
right there. I one of
But you
the
can
one of the
all you have to do is
at
throw it
least
on for 15 minutes while you shower.
yeah. And I have a charger by my bed. I have one out in the shop. There's one in the car which never really gets used, and it doesn't really get used because my watch is always it always has a charge. Um, if I'm listing out the top three features of what I love about the Ultra, battery life is probably number one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
think
only
I can
reason
live
I'm
another
thinking
year.
about it's the only reason I'm thinking about upgrading, right? Is well, that
Right.
and the color. I mean, the color is really nice, but so case size and weight, it's almost half as light as the Ultra 2, the Series 10 is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which is a
we
big
already know
difference.
that.
You don't realize it until until you're wearing it, but yeah,
Right.
that's another big difference.
Just trying to see if there's anything else I see in here. The altimeter is different. There's all those things are the same. I don't know what that certification means. The media playback, great. It
Yeah.
does have dual speakers instead of a single
Wait,
speaker.
the Ultra 2 doesn't allow playback on those speakers, right?
The
They didn't
Ultra 2, it
they only
says they didn't say it, but it says so. Apple Watch Series 10 has speaker media playback. Apple Watch Ultra 2 dual speakers media playback. So it sounds like they're making
okay.
that available.
Yeah. Before you hit checkout though, let's check out some, the YouTubers that are there with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hands
yeah.
on. Let's see somebody test that first.
Well, I don't know, to be honest, if I don't know if that's the only thing that's going to make a difference, right?
Right.
3 microphone array with beamforming and wind noise mitigation, right? So it's just going to be way better on the
Yeah.
um, there, and then ceramic and sapphire crystal back versus a metal and sapphire crystal back, so that's a little bit better there too. Yeah. So to me, I think the biggest thing that does it is the battery life, right?
Yeah.
So I want to get a watch, Jason. Which of the two do I get?
Considering that you already have an Ultra and you know how I feel about the Ultra 2, if you can live without that battery, without the additional battery life, and I agree with you. Charge it for 15 minutes. That'll probably get you through most of the day. It'll at least get you to when you're home in the evening and you can add, throw it on the charger for the rest of the evening. If you can live with that, then I would say, yeah, definitely Series 10 all day.
So I did
Yeah.
just confirm in an Apple press release that you can play the media back on the Apple Watch Ultra 2.
Okay. But I mean, I agree. I'm with you. It probably is not a big a deal as I thought it would be. Um, yeah, I don't know, just it seems like the battery life to me is just the biggest drawback from from
Well,
uh from using it.
and the other thing that I wanted to double check is Apple Watch. I know we're doing this live, guys. Sorry. Series 10 swim lap recognition, because some of them did not work with that, right? They didn't automatically notice, or at least it was called out that the Ultra would recognize your swim strokes and
Right.
do that. So it, there's only a $50 price difference between the two.
Right.
Because I would get the titanium casing, right, on the Series 10. I wouldn't get the aluminum. So unless I go back to, the aluminum, I don't think makes sense for me as hard as I am on my watch. Right. I
Yeah.
remember I scraped this watch across concrete. I bang it up against steel beams on my trailer and all that kind of stuff. So I just don't think the aluminum's going to hold up to that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? And I don't want to always have a case on it. So I would get the titanium. You're only talking about a $50 difference, and then the Apple Care is $20. So you're talking about a total of $70 difference between these. So I've got both of them
Yeah.
in my pre-order bag. I don't know what I'm
I'm
going to do
leaning
about that.
towards I'm leaning towards the Series 10. Um yeah, but there's always low power mode too.
Yeah,
Right?
I know. But I have been having issues. That's been one of my concerns. That's why I want to upgrade this right now, because there are times when I will do 20 miles on my bike and do
Hmm.
40 minutes in the pool, all in the same day, right? And I still
Yeah.
want to be able to track everything at night. And of late, I have been leaving my watch on the charger sometimes at night because it's run down. I mean, like right now, I'm at 36% because I didn't charge it last night. And I didn't even go for a workout yesterday. So it was on the charger
Yeah.
Saturday night. If I want to go do a workout right now, I'm not going to make it. Right. And I've had twice that in the pool.
Yeah.
One of the times you said, man, you went for a workout way late. Well, the reason it seemed like it was way late is because my watch died as I was getting out of the pool, and it didn't transmit the workout right until an hour
Yeah.
later when I had gotten it home and charged up. So yeah, I don't know. I'll be.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out next week, right?
Yeah. We'll tune in so Greg can give us an update on what he decided. Um the Series 10 is just a better watch. You know, just scrolling down this page, looking at the specs, there's some things that you can live without. The battery being a big deal. Don't get me wrong, a big deal. But other than that, the Series 10 is an ultra, right? It is an ultra watch,
And
at least an ultra one. So
maybe I could make the aluminum last for a year.
yeah, we know Ultra 3 is coming. You know, it won't be this year, it probably won't be the spring, but if you can get through a year, that would be my thought. And I mean, I think I can get through a year with the Series 10. Mm. I'm gonna see too. You know, maybe a surprise. I may text you and be like, "Hey, I had to go ahead and do it." You get there and we see them in person and hold them in your hands, and it's like, okay, let me let me make some financial arrangements and stuff, move some things around, and yep. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see what you
Yeah.
decide to do there. So, yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, but we probably should end this and stop
Yeah.
speculating. We're 2 hours in, so
Yeah. This it's always a long one, but you know, like we say, we love this stuff, and you guys love it too. That's why you listen. So thanks for everyone that's been tuning in and subscribing. Share this out. Share this with anybody who's thinking about getting a phone, getting a watch. Get Grandpa's opinion first, and then make your decision.
yeah, please share this out. We're super excited. This was our hot takes. Next week we'll have more in-depth stuff. We'll let you know what we ended up doing because all the pre-orders and stuff will be done. So, yeah, please just let us know.
All right, folks. Well, we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.
Have a good one.